I'd say the transphobes are back, but they never really left. I wish they would. Hey Spuds, it's Jamie. Welcome back to another video. First one on the channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here. I'm not very glad that this is a topic that comes up quite frequently on the channel in terms of reacting to transphobia, but I really do hope that we can take a moment, learn a little bit, and have a giggle at the silliness of transphobia, whilst also recognizing that it's massively damaging and it's great to break it down and have things to say against it, because transphobia is nothing but bigotry and has no root in science, morality, or medicine or anything sensible at all. It's just ridiculous, so let's show how ridiculous it is. Are you ready for today's installment of Are the Transphobes Okay? They are definitely not. Oh my goodness, no. But before we talk about the transphobes not being okay, I want to talk to you about something that is very okay. Thank you to Balessa for sponsoring today's video. And Balessa also giving away free vibrators to everyone who signed up to my giveaway. I've talked about Balessa on this channel before, you know who they are by now. But as a quick reintroduction, they are the #1 company for sexual wellness. They are a bi-woman brand on a mission to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. And today I'm here to talk to you about something very specific and very exciting, the first collection of silent toys. I thought I'd let them introduce themselves. That is incredibly embarrassing, I'm so sorry. They are the Whisper Collection, meaning they are literally silent. So I will just introduce them instead. Balessa have used their new Whisper tech to create the world's first silent vibrator. Seriously, listen to this. Like silence to my ears. Magic. They're very aesthetic, very powerful, and very silent. What more could you want? They mean you can put yourself first without worrying that you might wake up the whole house. You know what I'm saying. Focusing on yourself, not the sound. And there's options for whatever preference you might have. From the Whisper Bullet with 5 speeds, it's small but mighty and totally inaudible. The Whisper Rabbit has 6 speeds and multiple adjustable stimulators to hit all the right spots. And the Whisper Vibe also has 6 speeds and is the quietest G-spot stimulator you will find. So go click the link in my description box, and everyone who makes a purchase will get a free Whisper Bullet or a gift card. Now let's look at something significantly less fun, but would also be great to be silent. Transphobes. You ready? I thought we could start off with one that's also borderline accidental ally, just to ease us into the topic. Transphobes on Twitter have started the tag #transmen-are-not-women. No, that's not a typo. When you're so transphobic, you support trans people by accident, but you don't know enough about transness to correct course and it's too late anyway. #it hurt itself in its confusion. It's the fact that they try to start these hashtags in the first place of like,
oh my goodness, what offensive thing can we say about trans people?
But this also highlights that, one, they seem to only think that trans women exist and trans women are the only type of trans people, but trans men and non-binary people exist too. And they also really show themselves as not even having the most basic level of understanding around being trans. So why they think they can speak on it in the way they do, I have no idea. It's like,
oh hey, let me pick a random topic that I know nothing about that me speaking about in a really negative way could impact the lives of innocent, marginalized people who just want to live their lives. But you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm just going to talk about it anyway. Yay.
It's so ridiculous. Why would you do that? It's like they've gone, I'm bored of watching paint dry, so I'm going to pick a new hobby. And this is the one they chose? Bad choices. We have a trans flag. The people who created this flag have declared war on... War on what? Bigotry? Reality, science, language, and law. And the rights of who? Women, children, parents, lesbians, gays, and bisexuals, but not the pansexuals or the asexuals or intersex people apparently. So this is just people who created the flag, not all trans people, I'm assuming. So whoever created this flag, I'm really sorry. This person has a big problem with you for putting some lovely little colors together to support a marginalized community. I don't know why, but let's just discuss it in terms of like the trans community, because I assume that's what they mean and they think we're like a hive mind who collectively made this flag together. So the trans community have declared war on reality. I would like evidence for that. The reality, science, language, law, where language is made up law is also made up and ridiculous, and there's such a mix of where and how marginalized people in the world and in different parts of the world are protected in law or aren't protected in law. And really it just comes down to a matter of like morality, where there's incredibly high instances of bigotry in the upper echelons of like government and lawmakers. We see marginalized people like the LGBTQ plus community not being protected in law. Doesn't mean it's right to not protect them though. So I don't really understand what trans people have declared war on in law, rather than just wanting the same legal protections as cis people, which seems perfectly reasonable to me. You know, don't fire me because of my gender identity. You know, don't discriminate against me because I'm trans. Don't tell me that I can't get married because I'm trans. Don't tell me that I can't access the same level of healthcare as everybody else just because I'm trans. Like, it's bizarre that people are like, no, that's a problem that trans people want equality. Ugh. As I said, language is made up. We created languages. Humans made up language, and it has evolved throughout many years. And if you go back just a couple hundred years, there are words that do not exist and are not used anymore, and there are other words that mean entirely different things now than to what they used to. As for science, there is scientific evidence supporting the existence of trans people. And then reality. I mean, I don't really know what they mean. They like to say like, oh, facts don't care about your feelings. And like, you know, it's not a reality. You know, your feelings don't make things a reality. But that's definitely more on the transphobic side of things. I don't understand how a community that is valid and proven to exist just by the mere point that we exist and trans people are here, and people wouldn't choose to be trans unless they were trans, funnily enough. But also the scientific and medical support for the trans community, the historical support that there is evidence of trans people existing throughout history, and for as long as human beings have existed, there have been trans people. So I'm not really sure what reality they're speaking about, unless they're speaking about the alternate reality that transphobes seem to live in, that actually has no basis in factual reality of the world. That must be what it is. And then the rights. Of course it comes down to the rights. The rights things of like women, children, parents, and then cis LGB people, that's all come out of a certain subset of bigots or subsets of transphobes who don't want to admit they're being bigoted and transphobic, so they hide behind pretending to protect another group of people. So we see a lot of TERFs pretend to be feminists when they're just transphobic, and we see a lot of typically very right-wing or incredibly like conservative religious parents pretend like they care about children, and that's why they're being transphobic. And they might care about children, but being transphobic isn't the way to go. There are many things that we need to tackle in the world for all of these groups of people that trans people are not impacting in any way, shape or form. And the people who say,
yeah, I care about women's rights, yeah, I care about LGBT rights, yeah, I care about like maternity and paternity leave, and I care about children's rights,
aren't actually tackling any of the things that genuinely impact all of these groups' rights, but they're just being transphobic and saying it's because they care about the rights of other people. It doesn't add up. Your delusion is not reality. Well, at least they used the right your. So they've put the trans flag inside a little rainbow circle. Your delusion is not reality. I'm not really sure what they think is delusional about being trans. It just comes out of ignorance and a misunderstanding. It's people who are scared of what they don't know, and instead of sitting down and speaking to a trans person, because actually there's research that shows if you know a trans person, you are significantly more likely to be accepting of the trans community, which really figures, seeing as the trans community aren't this like big bad scary thing that transphobes like to make out. If we were, getting to know us would make you more scared, right? Just saying. So the idea is, if you're scared of something and you don't understand something, maybe try listening to that group of people or reading about it from a perspective that isn't just somebody who shares directly your worldview, or maybe looking at some of the research papers into it, and then you'll realize that trans people are not in any way, shape or form delusional because they are trans. Unless a transphobe made this sticker for themselves, then it's accurate. 4 years ago today, I chose my name. 4 years ago today, I finally realized who I was. 4 years ago today, I came out as non-binary. Happy anniversary to me, with little non-binary flags. Happy anniversary to your non-binary coming out. And this was posted last October, so you're not quite at 5 years, but you're at like 4.5 years. Happy 4.5 years. JK Rowling decided to tweet a screenshot of this. She's been kind enough to remove the name of the person, clearly learning from past mistakes that when she retweets things from smaller accounts, that account gets incredibly hounded and sent horrific things merely by being placed on her page. Yeah, so clearly she's learned something, so you're having the decency to cover up somebody's name so that they don't get horrific, disgusting hate towards them. Fine. I mean, they will in the comments here, but not directly to them. So JK Rowling said to this, little known fact, in ancient times, times, non-binary people chose their names by selecting the herb or periodic table element with the exact same number of letters as their Enneagram type. Should I decide to abandon the binary, I will go by time or boron. What? Was that supposed to be a dig? So she's admitting that non-binary people have existed and been part of society since ancient times. Who gives a shit how they used to pick their names? I don't even know if this is true. Like, even if it were made up, to put it out there that non-binary people have existed since ancient times, which they have, that bit's definitely not made up. It would be how they picked their names. Who gives a crap how people pick their names? I don't understand what point she's trying to make, but seeing as her general attitude towards trans people is very horrible and sneery and mocking a lot, I can only think that that's the angle she must be coming from here, based on previous examples she's given the world, right? But somebody retweeted J.K. Rowling and said, just a reminder that J.K. Rowling exercised her right to self-ID as a man to sell some mediocre crime novels. Funny that. I've heard a lot of people like commenting about that. Like, there is some kind of irony in the fact that probably the most famous transphobe around at the minute, and somebody who's incredibly vocally anti-trans, decided to go by a man's name as her pen name for her more recent books, one of which is very bizarre towards the trans community and not great. So you're taking the piss out of how non-binary people in ancient times used to pick their names, but you've chosen your name based on the person who's considered like the founding father and like, I don't know, one of the pioneering people behind conversion therapy. I don't really think she has a leg to stand on when it comes to like choosing names that you go by. Oh, and somebody else has tweeted about J.K. Rowling. Wait, have I got this right? A woman who famously picked a gender neutral name to sell more children's books so boys wouldn't be put off by a female author, which she's confirmed on record, is mocking someone who's non-binary for choosing a more gender neutral name. The brain rot. The actual brain rot. Sorry, the concept of this melted my brain so much I said right instead of right. Now my brain's rot. The woman who's also comically bad at naming minority characters things that aren't super effed. Well, I don't think I need to add anything to that. It's just interesting that there's certain rules that some people don't feel applies to them and shouldn't be commented on, yet they will freely comment on it about other people. Till death do they part, Venom. Till death do they part sealed the deal for me. Not accepted they pronouns they tried to squeeze in there. I'll bet others ain't either. Movies were overrated anyway. Not accepted, I assume they mean like not accepting. They pronouns they tried squeezing in there. So like there is one word separating them mocking and disliking the use of the pronoun they and them using the pronoun they. That's the quickest I've ever seen anybody contradict their own point. This person transphobed so hard they forgot language. They forgot the point they were trying to make. What, till death do they part? Like, what pronoun do they want? I assume they're having a go at the use of they in a singular sense, which it absolutely can be used in. It is ridiculous when people claim it cannot be singular. It can be singular. It's been used in a singular way for a really long time. But here, it's not even being used in a singular way, because like Venom, isn't that when like the person gets overtaken? So it is technically two separate but comes together as one. Maybe that's the problem they have, because technically transphobes are exhausting. I'm too hot to film. It's too hot to be doing this today. Announced, Kemi Badenoch has been elected leader of the Conservative Party. I mean, if you didn't already hate the Tories, transphobe is now the leader. I mean, I don't think it would have been difficult for a transphobe to be the leader of the Conservative Party, but anyway, J.K. Rowling retweeted this. She comes up a lot in the transphobes not being okay. Unsurprising. My thoughts and prayers are with David Tennant at this very difficult time. I'm assuming this is because David Tennant at the LGBT Awards, definitely not this year, either 2024 or 2023, quite famously, it went quite viral, said he wished Kemi Badenoch would just shut up. He was like, I wish her no ill will. I think he was like, just stop talking about trans people. Stop talking about things you don't understand.
Until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore. I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up.
As a J.K. Rowling is now like, oh my god.
When a transphobe gets elected leader of the Tory party, what do I think about? David Tennant. He must be weeping.
Meanwhile, David Tennant just out there playing Macbeth, being a trans ally, living his best life. Yeah. David Tennant living rent-free in JK's head. That is a thing. Like, as trans people and then trans allies as well, we just live rent-free in the heads of transphobes, making them seethe with anger. And they will age terribly due to that anger. The cortisol, very destructive. I could not imagine being that hate-filled. It seems like a very sad existence. So I'm really glad I'm not a bigot, to be fair. I'd rather be trans than a bigot. And then somebody else about the same JK Rowling tweet said, I love how JK tweeted this to harm David Tennant, but all it's done is bring out love and support and good stories about him, reminding us what an amazing human he is and how JK is a cruel, vindictive turf. Well said. Hunter Schafer is reportedly being eyed to play Princess Zelda in the live-action Legend of Zelda film. Wow, that would be incredible casting. Last I checked, Zelda was a woman. I mean, so is Hunter Schafer, so I don't get what the problem is. Unless this is a transphobe who is living in an alternate reality. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sure we've all seen that very famous image now of JK Rowling looking awful, smoking a cigar on a yacht, celebrating trans rights being taken away. I mean, way to fully announce your total transformation into a villain. And somebody's made it into a meme. Trans women are men. Deal with it. It's awful. It's so unaesthetic. It's so old school. And I don't know if this person made it, but they said, just start smoking victory cigars, JK. It suits you. I've heard cigars are very bad for you, actually. I would recommend to loved ones that they do not smoke cigars. JK Rowling is not a loved one of mine at all, so I'm not going to recommend that. Isn't it interesting how when the man transitions, his career takes off, and not only is he accepted as a woman. Oh, I didn't realize that's what they were doing. But he's immediately celebrated as one of the best women. But when the woman transitions, her career goes into the dumps and everybody forgets about her. Just an example of how transgenderism is primarily about centering the men. The women exist only as props to legitimize and validate the men's claim to womanhood. Their job is to launder the image of transgenderism from a male-oriented fetish to a medical condition. Once they've completed their task, they're discarded while the men go on to bigger and brighter things. And the majority of liberal women who support this genuinely believe that they are feminists. So they've got a photo of Elliot Page, and then they've got Carla Sofia Gascon, who played Amelia Perez in Amelia Perez, which is the only major thing I think she's been in that I can recall. There were also some very big names in that film. It also was not a great film for trans rep. And Elliot Page has been in quite a lot since he came out, and has also headed up quite a lot of campaigns for like some big brands and stuff. Like, he's very much present. I don't really know what this point this person is trying to make, because it's just one that doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, look, I'm going to take an example of two people, one of which happens to be a trans woman, and wow, she was nominated for an Oscar. But then like old tweets resurfaced and like everything just went to shit. She didn't win. I think she didn't even attend the awards with the cast. She was like stuck in a back entrance because there was a lot of shit going on at the time. And then compared her to Elliot Page, who has been in a lot and done a lot and has like a best-selling book and has been in the Umbrella Academy and is working on other projects and is doing, I believe is working on a documentary for Peppermint. Yeah, I believe he's an executive producer on a document about Peppermint, who's a trans woman and a drag queen, and appeared on RuPaul. I feel like this person has just gone,
oh, the epitome of everything is this one award nomination.
And not looking at the actual like career progression and opportunities and what they're doing. It's just really bizarre and completely ignores the fact that actually women face a lot of discrimination within like almost every single industry, if not every single industry, and openly trans women face discrimination as women in those industries and as trans people in those industries. It's just a bit weird to say, hey, this person who identifies as a woman, is a woman, lives her life as a woman, was nominated in the women's category of an award, plays the role of women in movies and TV shows, and navigates through life and career as a woman, is getting male privilege, I feel like they're trying to say. And that is a very deep misinterpretation of the situation. How do you tell who's telling the truth? The ones trying to silence other people are the ones lying. Be wary of the censors. And Elon Musk retweeted this and said, exactly. Somebody typed out reply being like, can I say cisgender? Because I'm pretty sure he had that flagged as a slur on Twitter, right? And you can't say cis, or it's problematic. That feels like censorship to me. Very interesting, very curious. Who is silencing who? When it comes to trans people specifically, because obviously Elon Musk is embroiled in a whole bunch of controversy about various topics, but trans people specifically, and then more broadly than just Elon, it's a really common thing that transphobes like to shout that they are being censored and they are being silenced, whilst they're never sat on a national TV show with no opposition talking about the topic they're claiming to be silenced on, writing books on the topic they're claiming to be silenced on, running conferences on the topic they claim to be silenced on. There is a difference between freedom of speech and freedom of consequence. You can say stuff, but when, as a wider society, we begin to realize the things that these people are saying about the trans community are horrific, there will be more and more consequences for saying those things. Like, these books that are disgustingly transphobic and are just full of lies and misinformation should never have been published. And if they wanted them published, they have the freedom of speech to publish them themselves. And the consequence of being shitty people and lying and spreading false information that hurts a marginalized community is that publishers wouldn't want to publish their book. We're not at that point yet. Transphobes are hardly being silenced, but if I'm honest, they really should be. They're not adding anything constructive to society with their conversations around trans people. You want to know about the trans community? Listen to the trans community. It's just like there are other types of oppression that we really recognize you cannot do without consequence. You cannot go on national TV and start saying homophobic slurs and saying that we should eradicate gay people. You can't do that. But we see very similarly worded things happening to the trans community still, and those people still having a platform. I'm not saying there's not homophobia and other types of discrimination, obviously. It just seems very acceptable right now within certain circles and among mainstream media for transphobia to be platformed and these people not to receive punishment beyond trans allies and trans people calling them out on their shit. So to even try and hint that trans people are censoring others when it's literally like, hey, can you please stop lying about me and my community and who I am? That would be really appreciated, thank you. That's what's going on. God. Oh, and then funnily, the next slide of somebody replying to that saying, can I say cisgender? They got a note saying this post contains language that may be considered a slur by X and could be used in a harmful manner in violation of our rules. Cisgender. Cis is an old Latin prefix that is used in many other contexts, such as chemistry, not just gender, and all it means is on the same side of. It literally just means that you're not trans, but what we can do, I'm very comfortable to start saying men and women, and then not trans men, not trans women. And to me, trans people will be the default. I will just be man, and a cis man, seeing as Elon doesn't like that, he can be a not trans man. There you go. Does that get round it? I'm sure that they would not like that more. TERF. Never thought I'd be fighting alongside the far right. Far right. Yes, you did. I mean, it's not really a shock, but maybe if they're like, oh, I never thought this would happen. I don't align with the viewpoints of the far right in any other way. I wonder what's going on here. Maybe it's time to like question what is going on. Why are people being pushed to be more far right leaning or agreeing with the far right on trans topics and trans topics only? That seems really bizarre. I've heard of TERFs in the UK saying,
I've been Labour and left-wing all my life, but this trans issue has got me voting Tory.
so you're willing to sell out all your other like political and moral beliefs because of the trans community that you clearly deeply misunderstand and do not know anything about. That's a really weird hill to die on. Anyway, somebody commented on this. Trans cultists have brought together the most unlikely people, and their profile picture, I'm not going to show their name or their face, is them holding a sign that looks like Harry Potter-esque text that says trans women are men. Somebody loves JK. And that is a problem when a celebrity that people trust and love and feel very devoted to start saying this kind of thing, because if they're on the fence or they're not sure, that's a very easy line to fall into full-on bigotry because you trust this celebrity that you admire. Anyway, I'm not surprised that when agreeing on bigotry and taking away human rights of a marginalized community, TERFs, transphobes, are finding themselves aligning with the far right, because the far right have a pattern of doing that and a history. And even really liberal TERFs seem to hate trans people so much for some really unknown, bizarre reason. Maybe they feel like it's all trans people's faults that their lives are falling apart. I don't know. They just blame trans people because they want to blame somebody. Oh, the world is on fire? Trans people. No. I do find it weird that people will sell out their political beliefs and their moral beliefs and their moral compasses because of their dislike towards the trans community, and then also claim that they're not transphobic. Very weird. So this is a post from one of the LGB Alliance accounts, who are a anti-trans organization that claim to be standing up for cis LGB people. Yet they have people like JK Rowling, who is a cis straight woman, being keynote speakers or like big names at their events. And I think it was revealed that a majority of the people involved in the LGB Alliance are actually straight. LGB with the T T, remember when it was outed in court that the majority of the LGB alliance were heterosexuals? Well, this year's conference was opened by J.K. Rowling, you guessed it, a heterosexual. So the LGB alliance, they're one of the people, you know, the trans flag that was like, the people who created this flag and there's like, are taking away the rights of, and then it said lesbians, gays and bisexuals. This is one of those groups that is hiding behind protecting like gay rights, but being transphobic by doing it and not actually protecting LGBT people at all. So the LGBT Alliance have said, for all those excited at the thought of women with short hair being excluded from the ladies, yes, sometimes we're challenged. Nobody's excited by it. Trans people are just pointing out that if you're policing gender expression to try and weed out the trans people, you're going to be not just discriminating against trans people, but also discriminating against any non-conforming person. More commonly, that will be a non-conforming cis woman. Anyway, no, it's never an issue once we speak or the challenger has a proper look. They apologize, we laugh, all good, no one dies, we are women, not snowflakes. I mean, if I were a snowflake, I would be a little puddle of water right now because it's very hot. So they're saying, I'm assuming they are a cis woman with short hair and they've been challenged in the women's room. And they're like,
no, once we speak with our feminine register voices and the challenger has a proper look.
Proper look? How? Like, what do you mean by a proper look? And I'm telling you, there are so many instances where trans women will be read as cis women and cis women will be read as trans women. Yes, even after they speak and the challenger has a proper look at them again. It's not clear cut. Gender expression is not that clear cut. Biology, human nature, like people are not clear cut. Sometimes I just feel like these transphobes want us all to be freaking robots and identical. It's so bizarre. Somebody's replied to this saying, to remain safe in bathrooms, all I have to do is simply show my vagina to anyone who questions my femininity. Thank you for keeping me safe from male predators, LGB Alliance. Because what do they mean by proper look? That's a bit bizarre. There are literal places that are calling for genital inspections, particularly within certain sports areas. And there's also in the UK, after the recent Supreme Court ruling, it's saying that like transport police, officers who are men, will have the right to strip search trans women. But how would a cis woman, who that male officer is saying, oh no, I think you're a trans woman, how will that cis woman prove to him that she's a cis woman? Trans women can change their birth certificate, their ID, everything. Not that trans women should be strip searched in that way either. And it also puts cis women at risk because it just means that any predatory officer who's a man can just state that he thinks any woman is a trans woman in order to strip search her. Really, when this person says have a proper look, what they're going to find out very quickly is that if they do try and enforce bathrooms in this way to keep trans people out of specific bathrooms, they're going to start thinking the only way to fully determine who belongs in what bathroom is a genital inspection. But even that, there are surgeries. Intersex people exist as well, so where do they fit within this? You can't start doing a chromosome test. You can't expect people to walk around with a piece of paper that has their chromosomes on, because that's not always what you expect. It's just, I'm so lost by the hate, and I think these people are lost in the hate and they cannot see clearly. It's like when you get so scared about something or you act irrationally about something because of the way you're feeling and you don't quite remember what happened. It's like they're just being fueled by irrational hate and there is not a logical thought in their brain that is able to be processed. That's the only explanation, because it is so ridiculous what they say. And on the topic of cis women being harassed in women's spaces, that's what we're finishing on today. A nice little video, a not nice video. So woman thought I was trans and wouldn't leave me alone.
Are you a man or a woman?
Why does that matter?
I would move out if I were you. Stay right there.
And who are these bigots saying are the threatening ones?
Oh, we don't want to feel unsafe in women's bathrooms by trans women, so let us make anybody we think is a trans woman feel unsafe by threatening them. You better stay in there.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
Yeah. Figure out your identity in your bedroom. I'm this right now. It's a man. Boy. I want to pee in front. With my room. It's a boy. It's a child. How are you?
I'm good.
Are you a man or a woman?
Why does that matter?
Well, because you're in the ladies' room.
Okay.
And I have gotten called out several times for being in the men's room.
Okay.
Wait, so she's admitting to going into the men's bathroom, but is calling out somebody that she doesn't know the identity of, wasn't doing anything wrong in the bathroom, was just going to the toilet. And she's like,
No, you can't be in the wrong bathroom. But I was called out several times for being in the men's room.
why were you in the men's room then?
Okay.
And you're going to be called out for whatever you're doing. So what are you identifying as today?
I don't think that's any of your business.
Okay, it's not. So you're in the ladies' room where I think I need to identify you.
The important point there is she said, I think I need. Just because you think you need something doesn't mean it actually has to happen. You can hold that bigotry inside and let it out when you go home and you're not hurting people. This is bananas, and I'm really impressed with this person who's being harassed in a bathroom that they're perfectly able to be in. Like, people are not gonna just walk into the wrong bathroom, casually go to the toilet and spend time in there. It's just no. But I'm really impressed with how this person is staying very calm, because this woman is being so damn rude to them.
You do not need to identify me.
Is that right? How old are you?
Doesn't matter.
Really? Okay. So we'll wait for the police to come and figure it out.
Okay. Let's wait for the police to come.
Yeah, because this is not that way you play your shit. Go down on the strip and try to do it there. Don't do it up here. This is a suburb. Not allowed. Not allowed. Yeah, you think you're gonna be a woman? It's okay. And be a man? It's okay. No.
I mean this in a respectful way. I don't think that people like this woman who are harassing strangers in the bathroom and saying these types of things are okay. I think they need to go speak to somebody. I think they need to figure out their own shit, because that is not okay behavior, and that is not typical behavior. That is not appropriate behavior. And even if you thought somebody was in a bathroom they shouldn't be, if they are not doing anything to make anybody feel uncomfortable, as in if they are just going into the bathroom and washing their hands and leaving, why would you even approach them in this aggressive manner? Why would you even be saying things like,
You gotta go figure out your identity. Do that in your bedroom. Today you're saying you're a woman and tomorrow you're gonna be a man.
you have no idea. You are making the wildest assumptions about this person and their life just because you've seen them in a bathroom. And this is exactly what anti-trans bathroom policies do. They breed this deep irrational fear in people because they've been told they have something to fear when they don't. The truth of the matter is, trans inclusive bathroom policies make the safest bathrooms. Less cis women are harassed, less trans people are harassed, they are the safest overall. There is literally no evidence that trans people using the correct bathroom for their gender, so trans women using the women's and trans men using the men's, causes any issues for cis people. And there is evidence that trans inclusive bathroom policies are the safest, and trans exclusionary bathroom policies lead to multiple groups of people being harassed more often. People like this woman who are just being aggressively hateful have bought into a bunch of lies and have been sold a fear that she's internalized and had no need to. And now she's projecting that fear onto other people.
Figure out your identity in your bedroom, okay? And then project it on everybody else and we'll accept it. This is not acceptable.
Let's go get security.
And I really hope that security supported the person being harassed in this situation. Oh, that woman. Honestly, I think if that had happened to me, I would have just walked away. I wouldn't have been able to stay calm and have a conversation. I'd have just been like, I have a right to be here, and then I'd have left. So I'm very impressed that the person that was being harassed was remaining calm, telling this woman that she had no right to be approaching somebody in this way and asking those questions, etc. And let's go speak to security then if you really want to. Damn, people are very bizarre. Hate makes people very bizarre, I find. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope it was interesting. Go let me know what you think in the comments down below. Think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to. You can also go check out my Patreon. You can see some names going up here of my Patreons, and a big shout out to my top tier Patreons: Albar, Chloe, Elden K, Gosco, Iona Balash, Jesse Entwistle, Marv Mallow, Max Makes Mods, Night Soul, Nesta, Rachel Raptor, Randy, River Champagne, Ry Loves Rory, Sally Drew, Sienna Lamb, Slayer, Sugar Joe, The Third Hat Man, TNS Mum, Sally Drew, and Sarah Hobbs. Thank you so much. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.